Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here for How Do They Do It? Experienced Reading Simplified teachers sharing their experiences with small groups, intervention, and maybe even a little touch of differentiated literacy centers. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be excited to hear from these very excellent teachers in a few minutes. If you don't know me or us, I'm Dr. Marnie Ginsberg from Reading Simplified, where we streamline reading instruction and accelerate students' reading achievement. And one of the things that we try to do is actually simplify reading. And it's never more important than the beginning of the year, right? It is chaos right now. For all of you who are in the midst of that, thank you so much for serving. You are priceless. And we want to be efficient. We already got a love there. Thank you for all of those of you who are joining. And before we dive into hearing from each of these experienced teachers, you need to know that we're giving a prize. So if you comment today, we're going to pull from your name and give a prize. I draw off of a little wheel. So we get to spin the wheel and you can win. So if you're here, say hello. Let us know where you're coming in from. And since Facebook takes a while to get out to the people, I just wanted to reintroduce these folks. We've got some teachers here with us who are experienced Reading Simplified teachers. They're going to be talking about how do they do it back to school prep for particularly Reading Simplified centers. And I'm Marnie Ginsberg of Reading Simplified. So I don't hear anybody yet, see anybody except a heart. Hey, 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 there we've got Ashley. Thank you so much and I'll pull this around. There we go, Ashley. You're awesome for jumping right in. So you'll get entered into the drawing. If you're just popping in, we're going to be pulling the names from who's here. And at the end of today's show, we're going to draw a name for a prize, a surprise prize. Every single time we don't know who it is. So we've got Ashley and Michelle and Jerry and Dana. Awesome. And Bill, welcome, welcome. And Natalie's even coming to us from Trinidad. So cool. Okay, I'm going to stop the introduction. Thank you for being here. Let's jump into this talk. How do they do it? First, we've got Stormy Daniels here and Beth Waffle and Victoria Ochoa Rodriguez. These are teachers from all over the U.S., and they are experienced doing Reading Simplified, or at least in their second year, maybe many, many more. And I just want them to share their story, some of the details of why they're doing Reading Simplified and what they're doing to prep. Okay, so I'm going to get our most experienced teacher here off to start us off. Stormy Daniels has been with us before, sharing her experience using Reading Simplified. She's been doing it for many years. So Stormy, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then why are you doing Reading Simplified?
So first, I'm doing Reading Simplified because it works. I mean, that's an easy question. So my name, again, is Stormy Daniels, and I teach in El Paso. I facilitate learning in El Paso, Texas. And I was a third grade teacher, second grade teacher, first, second. And now I got to loop up with my kids to third. And
Awesome.
Because of Reading Simplified, I would take these kids to college today. They're ready. When I started my journey with Reading Simplified, I was looking for something that worked, right? Because I didn't know. I went from third grade to first grade to fixed reading, and I didn't know how to do that. And so I was searching, and so blessed that I found Dr. Marnie Ginsberg and Reading Simplified, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. And so no matter where I am, no matter what I teach, no matter which classroom I can go help my co-teachers, I have this magic thing we're going to show it later, the pathway. We call it the Reading Simplified pathway. This is all there is, my friends. If you're new to Reading Simplified, I'm telling you this, you are going to know this. You are going to know exactly where they are and where they can go from. And so to prove that, this year I moved classrooms. We got a new curriculum. We got a new principal. I didn't get new kids except 4. So the first day, my students that I had last year are ready to launch into this new curriculum. And it's actually good. Hats off to Amplify. I don't say that often about textbooks. However, I'm loving it because it's rich literature that my students are ready for. Thankfully, they have a phoneme base, except for 4 new tigers now, and now they're up. In 1 week, we got them up. But this is what I did, and it looks kind of, you know, pieced together, but it's not. This is my magic trick. I keep my letter tiles by, this isn't very neat. This looks not prepped, but I am prepped for every single level on this pathway. And so I have their passages. I have everything to make them believe, even before they know all their sounds, that they too are readers. And in a week, they will be. And so I'm sure we'll talk more about that and how I prepare for that by level for whoever comes my way.
Amazing. Why don't we should look at those switch it lists up close in a second. What Stormy showed us that was kind of small pieces of paper is one of our core activities we called Switch It. It's a word chaining activity where the child is challenged by the teacher to change one sound in a word. So switch mop to map. The child has to do that work, and it really develops so many reading sub skills. And we have multiple levels, which you can only kind of see, the idea of here. So yeah, show us what that up close, how you're managing Switch It.
This is how I prep. I make one of these and I make about 20 copies, and then I staple it and label what list it goes to. And of course, I've been more advanced in the past. I've sorted my letters. I've had boxes. I've done the fancy stuff. This is more effective because I can simply, as I'm learning that student on the first day of school, I'm learning their name. I'm snipping sounds and they're telling me what sound. So I'm doing an instant assessment. In about 2 minutes, I've learned who they are, and they start building words for me. And I don't need these again. They can take them with them. And I'm ready for the next kid because I have another list right there.
Oh, okay. So if you don't know our system,
yes, and I use those lists.
Yeah. So
Yes.
like over here on the far left, we would have a CVC list that's targeting short A and short I. If Stormy had kids that needed some practice with short A and short I, she might choose that list. Or she might go over here if they're at 4 sound words and A, I, and O or whatnot, moving around, increasing the difficulty of both phonemic difficulty and phonics knowledge, because she's quickly getting that information about what they can handle, and then she's meeting them in an instructional match. Very cool. Doesn't happen. A lot of times we don't get to that instructional match until like week 6, but you're doing it week 1.
Yeah. And often we have to wait until we prep for that student once we get their diagnostic. We don't need to do that. We can do it very simply. As techie as I am, this is my magic. And on the sides, Dr. Ginsberg was showing the lists have a number like 13A, 13B. So I strategically placed on the side of my little copier list 13A. So I know I'm pulling 13A, I'm pulling this. The kid doesn't know I'm doing a reading group, but guess what? We're working. And then they feel successful because anyone can do this. And they can learn as they go. So
I love it. And so you also mentioned that you have passages. What else are you prepping?
So I also have, throughout my time using Reading Simplified, my biggest stress initially was, oh my gosh, they're moving up so fast. I know that's stressful, right? They're moving up so fast. I need to get their next level passage. So I've disciplined myself to make passages. I'm going to use the same passage when they get there. When the next kid gets there, they're going to use the same passage. So I have packets made, and I was kind of not moved out of my classroom in 5 minutes before we were starting, so I got home. I make packets, so no matter if they get to Advanced Phonics Camp, Target IE, there's a story ready for that group. So I'm not waiting till the next week when I can copy. I have, the stapler is my friend. And you see, I just staple them together.
So Stormy is starting out with what we call basic code, which is there at the top of the iceberg, consonant short vowels and consonant digraphs like CH or CK or SH. But then she is ready, when the kids are ready for something a little more challenging, to go beneath the surface of the water into advanced code, like this, all the spellings of O or the sound So we've got, and she's got passages for both. So she's getting their vowel that they need and then pairing a text with it, which is a huge leap forward as compared to most mainstream programs right now. Balanced literacy which is mostly still what most states and districts are doing, will have you maybe do something with short A, but then you read a text that has no short A examples in it. This is an incredible missed opportunity. She's getting them to practice what at the specific level that they're working with her on in word work, so they get to see the transfer. Anything else like beginning materials that help you zero in on getting instructional match at the beginning of the year, Stormy?
Really just, I mean, right now in my third grade class, they're on level, so they're not reading decodable readers, obviously. They're reading rich text. We read The Wind in the Willows the first week of school. And so when those students are attempting to read those texts, I know what words to look at to see where they are pretty much. I haven't done the diagnostic, it's right here. I have my snapshot ready to go. But even before I do that, I can make them feel not afraid of reading.
I love it.
Because if they get to me, even when I was in second grade, if they get to me, they're afraid of reading because they haven't been successful. So if we can play a switch it game where they're a little challenged, but I'm with them and then they're planning to read the word they just built, like the world of reading opens up and then they're more adapt and ready to learn.
And we have an assessment that Stormy alluded to. We call it the snapshot informal assessment. It's an optional thing if you don't have something like Dibbles or Acadience or other CBMs there. And we also have everybody who's a simplifier look at what's coming to a schoolroom near you. This is upcoming. It's a variation on what we have, very similar to what we have, but it's going to be a lot easier to use. Let's see if I can advance through it. Anyway, it's just going to be, I think, a lot easier. Not only will it tell you how your kids did, but then it'll tell you what to do, which pathway to pick, streamlined pathway, which Stormy had mentioned. And here's an example getting the letter sound knowledge, getting some nonsense word reading knowledge, both at basic code.
Great.
Yeah. We can thank Lisa and Terry on our team for doing this.
That looks amazing.
And, yeah. So anyway, that's coming soon, but that's one way, if you don't have that information already, that you can, we got some love about that, that you can zero in on what kids need. And I want Stormy for now to finish up by telling us what happened last year, because you're now looping and you're starting with Wind of the Willows, and that doesn't sound like you're going to need much Reading Simplified, because Reading Simplified is a way to get kids learning how to decode, recognize words with automaticity, and become fluent, and they're really on their way, except for students who are new to you. But what happened last year that got you to this point as a second grade teacher?
So last year I started with, we'll just use numbers because data doesn't lie. My class, out of 22 people, 5 of them were on level to begin second grade. When we ended, I also had all the SPED. I have an inclusion class. So, I have all the best students because they have special gifts. By the end, everybody had shown immense growth and we were 85% on level or above. The only ones that weren't, of course, they were still 3 years above what their individual education plan had benchmarked for them that year. They're all reading. So.
And you said at the beginning of the year you were about 13%?
Yes,
as a group?
5 of them could read.
13% to 85%? That's a good year, I would say, for Miss Daniels. Thank you so much for sharing.
Them.
Our students have the ability, if we have the systems, they'll flourish. So I'm going to pass it over now to Beth. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're using Reading Simplified.
Hi, I'm Beth Waffle. I'm from near Charlotte, North Carolina. And I started using Reading Simplified a few years ago. I had been trained with another program, and it just seemed like it moved kind of slowly. And so, and I also wanted to incorporate more phonemic awareness into my intervention. Sorry, I should have said what I am. So I am an interventionist for kindergartners through 5th graders. And I mostly work with kindergartners, first and second graders. But then so if you have MTSS, like multi-tiered systems of support, I do some tier 3 for third, fourth, and fifth grade, and then tier 2 for first and second grade, and kind of a mix for kindergarten. And so, where was I? So, yeah, so I got acquainted with Reading Simplified when I was trying to add in more phonemic awareness. And I saw that it was a streamlined method. And as you'll kind of see when I show what I do, I like to streamline everything in my life. So it really spoke to me because of the word streamlined. And so I started it, and my kids I just noticed right away that they just started picking up on the code so much more quickly. And so, and it was like they could feel themselves learning how to read. And I'd never had that experience before working with struggling readers. I would have kids just say like, oh, I mean, I can basically read now, like they can just feel themselves just starting to be able to do it. So like right then I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to use. And plus I love how I can use it with every single grade level. No other program that I've ever used I could was appropriate enough for the fifth graders and also for the kindergartners. So that's just another really good thing that I found about Reading Simplified.
Awesome. And it's great to have, we're going to hear also from a fourth grade teacher, and we had a second, now third grade teacher, and Beth is covering all the grades, but particularly K2. So it's great to hear from a diverse group of people with different levels of kids. And I love what you say, Beth. That's our intention with the Reading Simplified system. It's supposed to be a system that works for anyone who's beginning or struggling with any age. I'm even using it with a 50-year-old dyslexic right now. I do the same thing. Actually, let me go here because we haven't talked about this. This is one of the ways in which we are streamlining it. We have a 3-component lesson plan, and we use this for everyone. Stormy's going to use it probably for her new kids that are coming into her third grade class. Beth's probably going to use it with a intervention first grader. I'm using it with a 50-year-old. It's a rereading for fluency, word work, and just a handful. We alluded to switch it as one of them, and then guided or reading a new text. So that's part of the streamlining it, plus the streamlined pathway, as Stormy pointed out earlier on. So Beth, you have so many different kids. How many kids do you have this year?
Well, I'm still gaining them because we do dibbles. So dibbles 8 at the beginning of the year, and that window just started. And then we also do the iReady diagnostics. So after all of the testing is done, then we sit down with all of the grade levels and we figure out who needs to be in tier 2 intervention. And but I have some of the students from last year, so we have their last year's data. I work at a charter school, so we have we see those kids throughout their whole schooling, they stay with us. So I already kind of know who maybe struggled some last year and who I'm going to be getting. And then also we have some students who are new to the school that already the teachers are like, oh my gosh, they don't know their sounds. We're pretty sure that they're going to need something right away. So I've started with, I usually have about maybe 40 kids, 30 to 40 kids at a time.
Whoa. Okay. All right. So how Beth plans is something we all want to know. Okay. So this is Beth's prep for the year. She managed to get it all on one page. I'm going to make it a little clearer here over there. Let's start on the left. So she's got intervention grade groups, and could have as many as 40 or more. So take us through this, Beth. What do you do to prep for all those kids?
So right now, when before I've really started the groups, I'm really lucky that I pull them out. So I can have some one-on-one time with them before I get completely started. So for
Nice.
students, anytime I have a new student, especially if they're a first grader and up, I do, and really the kindergartners too. I just don't do it all of it. I do that the snapshot assessment, and and then I figure out like basically what the student's most pressing need is, and usually it's kind of simple. Usually at the beginning of first grade, it's blend as you read, and sometimes they have like maybe a vowel or like short vowel or some short vowels and digraphs to work on. And then I have some first graders this year that also don't know consonants either. But then I also do the San Diego quick assessment, so I can get an idea of like what level text to use. Um, and that was kind of different with Reading Simplified from other systems as well, like that they kind of differentiate that a struggling kindergartner or first grader, they don't know very many high frequency words and they get overwhelmed by a lot of text on the page. So you can't, even though you have like the same pattern or the same phonics skill that you're working on, you can't have like a whole page of text or like and lots of different words that they don't know yet. Um, so that gives me an idea of which pathway to use and also which level of text to use
Yeah,
as well.
let me just show that real quickly. We've got 3 pathways. We don't have time to go into it here, but Beth is basically using the San Diego to pinpoint, are they a kindergarten reading level, which is what this would be, or are they a first grade reading level, or are they second grade and up, which is what I'm using, for instance, with my 50-year-old. But back to you.
And so after I do that, then I have I use this group lesson plan sheet, and I don't know if you can see
Oh, I
it.
can. I've got that also. Let me just zip over to that. There we go. She made her own.
Yeah, because like I need to be able to have like just exactly what I'm going to do really quickly. And I just don't write very much. So like for my beginning of the year first graders, oh good, you have the that one too. Yeah, so I just really quickly write down which switch it, SI is switch it, like which list I'm going to use. And then for read it, that's RI, and so that's consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant. That's going to be the type of word that we do. And sometimes I'll write down um, the words there, but sometimes honestly, like what I really like to do, and one really good tip that I have, oh, where'd it go? At the beginning of the year, I make just lots of like 3 or 4, because I'm always losing it, 3 or 4 packets of the switch it lists from like the very beginning, like level 1 all the way to the nonsense. And I just have them handy. So like I can look at my plan and say, oh, I'm going to do 14A today with this group. And then I just pull it out and start it. And so I just kind of plan that real quick. And I also have I think there's like a read it list of words also. So I have that handy that I can just grab and use that as well. And then I just have the guided reading text there as well. And I just write that in really quickly. And then at the end of the lesson, I also write down like on the side, maybe what I noticed about a student. Yep, there's on a cold and sleepy day. I always use that for some reason, like most of the time at the beginning of the year for my first graders. I think it's going to be a little too hard for one of my groups though. But so that one's really good for kids who maybe have like one vowel, one or two digraphs that they're still working on. Um, but overall pretty good. So yeah, so I put down on the right using the snapshot assessment what that student JB is going to be working on. So he needs high frequency words, short I, and SH. And then ZR is another student that's going to be in that group, but I haven't done his snapshot assessment yet. And so once I do, then I can write down.
Okay, so you have short I, then what does that mean you do tomorrow? What are you going to pick for his words?
So what I will do is I'll see how they do with the lesson. That's another reason why I really don't plan very far in advance. Sometimes, like for this group, I might do, honestly, I don't usually get through a whole list, especially for Switch It, especially the first few times. I think I said like my main goal for these first few sessions is really just teaching the routines. I like to make sure that they know exactly how to get to Switch It, and I use Jamboard for my Switch It. It's just been the easiest way because I can't stand all of the tiles and everything. And actually, I could share my screen and show it real quick if you
Awesome.
want.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, what can you see?
While you're doing that, I will answer Dana's question. Very good question, Dana. She was asking, can you find this form on Reading Simplified? The form that Beth was showing us with her is one that she created, but I bet she'll put it in our Facebook group for our members. But we have a couple other variations of, so each teacher seems to adapt her own version. Oh yeah, Stormy's got an example there on the screen. Can you hold that? It's like a daily assessment where at the top we plan the lesson, and then you can write notes. On the bottom, you do some assessment information that would help you plan for tomorrow. Oh, cool. Here we go. And thank you, Stormy. And here's Beth's Jamboard.
So you can see that? Okay.
Yeah.
See. So yeah, so I just make so this is first grade Switch It 4, and then it's list 14A. And then with you just if I needed another one, you just write it in and it just goes right there. And so
Fancy.
what I like to do is I just share it with whatever student. Whoops. I share it with whichever, because all of our students have iPads and they all have Google accounts. So I can just share it with them. With my tutoring students, I just share it, I just open it up on my personal iPad. And just duplicate the slide. And so then it makes it so that I just say, okay, Johnny, you go to number 1, you go to number 2, you go to number 3, and you go to number 4. And then we just have to, and then I start calling out the
Switches. Awesome.
Yep.
That's super fancy. A lot of people started using Jamboards during the pandemic. So, and you can even do it still in the classroom if they have their own device. Are they on Chromebooks?
They have iPads. They have iPad.
Even in your public school. You're in a charter school.
Yeah, we have, all the students have iPads, luckily. But even if they didn't, then I would just sign into my own Google account if I just had a little group set of iPads. You can do that. And it has been great because then the next time if I need to do another one, then I could just delete it and just change the letters really quick. Kind of like what Stormy does too, where you do that little assessment right at the beginning. Sometimes I'll just show my computer and just say, okay, tell me tell me the sound when I move it. And I'll just, like say that, and they have to say the sound. And then I'll be like, okay, what's this new one on here that I'm going to do? So sometimes I have been known just to kind of create the Jamboard just right there, right then and there, if I'm super busy that day.
I love it. Well, and also, we for Reading Simplified members, we have what we call the Switch It Online. This doesn't work so great on iPad, so I know why you must be doing Jamboards. But if you have any kind of computer, you can do the same types of things with this. And you can also add on the fly if you wanted to do longer chunks like that. And when you are praising them at the end, you can press the reward button. You guys?
Pretty quickly.
Oh, we just lost our streaming. Hopefully people will come back. Oh, I'm sorry. If you are, I hope people can see me. I am frozen on my end. That's kind of disconcerting. I'm here. I'm going to try to go out. And then, I don't know if I can go out. I'm going to make you a solo for a minute, Stormy. I am frozen. Hey, for everybody who just is seeing us for the first time, we're in the middle of a stream sharing how these awesome teachers have taught Reading Simplified, and I'm not behaving. My camera's not behaving very nicely. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, I'm going to let myself back in. I'm still frozen. I'm here. I'm really here.
Maybe turn your camera off and back on.
Off?
Can you turn your...
Oh, nope,
No.
That didn't help. That's so weird.
Try to share your screen and see if you can do that.
Just kind of get me out of the picture. Maybe I will just be quiet and get off the screen. And, I don't want to be solo. How do I get rid of myself? I'm going to make you solo, and then I'm going to add Beth, and then I'm going to add Victoria. Okay, so Jennifer said, we can hear you. I'm just not moving. Yeah, so I'm just going to be a voice in the cloud, okay? Thank you, Jennifer. If you're just tuning in, we're Reading Simplified, and we got cut off from a really awesome discussion where Stormy Daniels and Beth Waffle have already shared the cool things that they've been doing in their classrooms. But we haven't gotten to Victoria, and what we're talking about is how do busy teachers from various grades teach? How do they prep, particularly reading instruction using a Reading Simplified approach? And Beth, I think we kind of cut you off. So what is left here before we pass the baton to Victoria?
Did y'all hear about the Frixion erasable pens?
Ooh, I need to get some of these. Actually, Greg, if you're there.
They're great, especially for...
Go for it.
They're really good for sort it because I call them magic pens, and they and I make a big deal out of them and say, okay, if you're going to use the magic pen, then you just have to make sure you're trying to write your letters the correct way and starting from the top and never from the bottom, and then they're just nice because if a student makes a mistake, you could just erase it really quickly, and then they can fix it on that sort it page. And then
all right, so Greg might be able to even drop a link for people to buy that at Amazon. That's very cool. I've definitely got to get those. Okay, what else, Beth?
And then just the main thing is I just really go through all of the routines, like making sure that they know exactly what to do with switch it, and also read it. And then when we get to sort it, we go through that routine really carefully. And then just the reading, like just figuring out, okay, what to do while your neighbor's reading. And then just I have like a list on the board, and then we get through everything and we kind of check it off. And so it's good. Like they just kind of get used to the routines and the management.
And you do the same. It looks like you've basically got some two major approaches here. You've got your kids that are in the K1 reading level,
Yep.
and then
And yeah, and yeah, usually I either have to kind of like work pretty heavily on maybe a couple of the short vowels. And then while I do that, I'm doing reviewing the digraphs as well. So then I start usually at 1A, but then and then like my first graders who pretty much know most of the sounds, I would start, and then especially if they can segment 3 sound words, then we start right with the 4 sound, switch it. And the second grade and up, we might like I usually kind of use that playing at the beach. Oh, I said read it. I meant guided reading. The playing at the beach text for second grade, and then for third grade and up, I'll usually use just like another passage that I happen to have that has a lot of short vowels.
and then it looks like you pretty quickly get into sorted and advanced code. So you, I keep forgetting where everything is on my. I made these two much in a rush. Where are my? Is my little? There we go. So those older student or kids that are reading slightly, more advanced, they're not going to be camping out in basic code and short vowels. Even though you're an intervention teacher, they're rocketing ahead and getting underneath the surface of the water down here with advanced code. They're going to do the long O sound, and they're going to do the long E sound, and then they're going to do A, and so they're on probably this pathway, and they could be even by the A sound before October, I imagine. Awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
That is great. Okay, so if you're hearing a voice from afar, it's the host who has bad video connectivity right now. I apologize, but let's hear from Victoria. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're using Reading Simplified before you get into some of the ways in which you have planned this year. It's your second year as far as I know.
Yeah. So this is my second year, yeah, like you were saying, using the program. Pretty much I started using it because we have two just absolutely amazing teachers. Well, okay, we have many amazing teachers at our school, but our instructional coach, Anne Marie Hagan, and another just rock star teacher, Tara Hess, they found this program for us and they kind of piloted it for us just to see how it would work. And they were just seeing such intense and quick growth that they just decided that we as a staff should take it on. And as Beth was saying, like this program has just blown my mind in the way that it can work for kinder. And like I teach fourth grade, like you were saying. So I teach fourth grade in Greeley, Colorado. This is my third year overall. And it was really surprising to me how after leaving college, like elementary education, I really did not know how to teach kids to read, which just sounds like scary because like, I feel like that's like an equity piece. Like reading is equity, and being able to learn how to read is a really important part of that. But what I was seeing also when we had like the Colorado, we passed a READ Act that like kinder through third grade teachers need to take this course that tells you all about the science of reading. And so I'm not in any of those grades, but I felt like I could definitely still benefit from knowing how to teach kids how to read. And it just blew my mind how Reading Simplified just goes along with everything that is research based on how kids learn to read. Like I just don't understand like how we like found it recently if this is how kids learn to read. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too new of a teacher to like know all the politics there. But yeah, so we've really enjoyed it. My fourth grade group, we're lucky enough to have a short time specifically for different level reading groups, kind of. Uh, and my kids, we do a lot of the different so we use the reading simplified pathway. You keep bringing it up and I'm like, yes, that's right here. That's exactly that's exactly what we follow. So I'm following right now this, or the second and third grade and up. So I follow that one. We do a lot of guided reading. And so we'll use, like Stormy was saying, some of the reading simplified passages that have like the picture. And let me see if I can find it. Let me see. I think I have it with my other things, but it's a picture that Stormy was showing, where you have a lot of texts that have like the long A spelling, the long E spelling. Something else that I noticed when using the program. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Um, is that the way that kids, or like the students, are attacking the words is just so impressive. Like, because they know the way that words are built and the way that there could be 5 or 6 different ways to spell one sound. When we get to a word that they don't know, they will take the time and like actually think about all of the spelling, all of the sound spellings that they know, to think, okay, so is this saying, they like flex it a little bit. So is it k, if it's C-A-T, is it k, 8 or k, at? Okay, it's cat. Because of the long, like because of the spelling of so something that I have in the I compiled this over like when I've been working on Reading Simplified. This is in the Simplified Academy. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on.
Yeah, just move it a little bit. Keep going the way you were going. There you are. Perfect. Multi-syllable words.
And so there are different ones. Perfect. There are different ones on the Reading Simplified Academy. Like this one is language arts vocabulary. There's science vocabulary, social studies vocabulary, even math vocabulary. And at the on the like last page, it has just more words. Let me see if I can. That the students can be practicing their multisyllabic word work with, and they just love doing this. I feel like something that I found with Simplified is that it just kind of feels almost like they're playing a game. And like, again, research backed, like kids learn by playing, and it's like, okay, well, we're not going to be playing at school all day, like there's no time for that. But this really feels like they are playing. So we use, like, for multisyllabic, we use a marker and a little like Dollar Tree. They're like the face scrub, like little sponges. And then we use this as the erasers. But yeah, as I think Beth was saying, and Stormy probably as well, just getting those routines down super solid. So like they know exactly what to do. Like with the marker, they're not uncapping it, they're not drawing with it or doing anything like that. They just already know, like, the word is student, like you are a student. Okay, uncap your markers, say the sound student. So how many syllables? Student. And then we like go ahead and like write it and write the sounds as we are, or student, 2 syllables. So they write s, and then the other syllable d, and they're saying the sounds as they're writing it. And that Reading Simplified too is that they always are saying the sounds, and that's just helping them like keep them in their brain and also writing them. Science. Something about it. So, Yeah, so again, some other things that I do to get ready for the year. Printing these ones out, the multisyllabic, again, like I said, word lists. Is it in there? There we go. Okay. I also really refer often to the key sentences. I went too far. Yes, so that they always are checking themselves, and they love getting better at being able to write it. So again, with the marker, they'll just write like our first sentence, go home to show the boat to Joe. And they'll remember like, oh, last time I didn't know how to spell Joe, but this time I remembered the O spelling for it.
Yeah, for each sound
Yes.
on the pathway. Whoops, I don't have the pathway up anymore. But each sound on the pathway, we have a key sentence that's a mnemonic that helps remember the key spellings all year and all week. And then by the end of the week, most kids have those, even intervention kids, or at least most of them, those sounds.
Yeah, they'll even like, it's gotten to the point where like they'll correct me if I say like the wrong thing. They're like, "No, miss," and then they tell me what the sentence is. Something else that I have is that I like to just keep everything in a binder. I'll show it to you, and then I'll share my screen with something else.
Sorry about
Okay,
that.
let me breathe a little bit. Okay, so I have all of my long O spellings. Let's see, this way, other way. And then I have a bunch of copies. I have some decodable passages from the University of Florida Literacy Institute or Institute for Literacy. We also use some books, which I have on a slide, that the kids love. There's some decodables. I'm going to share my screen.
Before you share your screen, Victoria, can we go back? So am I right in thinking that you're organizing that binder based on more or less our streamlined pathway, and then you can add things to it in addition to reading simplified text, but you know that I'm going to be working on, say, the A sound this week, which would be step 4. So, well, I can't highlight it, but and so you gather not only reading simplified text, but other texts that target the A sound.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I've found that I like keeping it like the sound spellings decodables together, and then it just makes it so fast. I keep a master copy. I mean, if you're super like techie and stuff, I'm sure you could make it in your drive. But even though I'm young, I struggle a little bit with technology, so I like my paper copies.
You're an old soul.
So yeah, I have all of those organized by the sound spellings. I also we were also my switch it word lists. I keep thinking I'm going the right way.
It's very counterintuitive. I know. I'm still working on it after 7 years.
And so I just put like a little star. Like, okay, we did that one today. So the next day, this one is not starred. So I know that I'm going to move on to that one.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. And then my last one is just a few of the like games and activities that we do.
Awesome.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
It's coming. Here we go. Awesome.
Okay. So a couple of these you have in like the Reading Simplified Academy, or it says that you've like approved of them, kind of. So this one right here is some Literacy Hill. And my kids love this one. So it looks like Uno basically. And we do play Uno with it, but they're practicing the sound spellings for their words. So like this one has kite. It also has the other cards that have like the IGH spelling of I. And so they always say the word and then play it just like an Uno game. So I like to get those color printed, cut, and laminated. But like I said, I already made them. So now I have them like for as long as I need to use them. So that one is a really fun one. We also play, I know like I said, at our school, Tara Hess, she plays a super fun game with them called Boom, where they still have like the cards, but then you add cards that say Boom. And then if they get a Boom card, then their deck goes to someone else. And the point of the game is to have the most cards at the end of the game. But they're like practicing saying all the sound spellings. And with her permission, I could probably like post something like that of like an example of how to play the game. But it's so fun. And
It
they're
does sound
practicing
awesome. Yeah, thank you.
This one also is from phonics books, and it is read, sound, write, check. So they write. I just make like then they have like blank templates of this on phonics books, but I just make that copy, and then we put multisyllabic words right here. So again, practicing the syllables, practicing the sounds, and then when they write it, they write it by looking at the word, and then the next time they write it without looking at the word. So that dotted line is where you fold the paper, so that they can try to see how much they remember about how to spell that word. And then their spelling gets really good because it's like trying to beat their own score. And then for check, they can put like a little star, a little heart, I got it, or like a little slash for like I didn't get it this time, but I'll get it next time. And then my other two main ones are, again, phonics books has like this whole big series of different like themed texts that have the specific sound spellings. So they will read through whichever book sound spelling we're working on as part of our like reading small group time. And then this last one right here is that this one, again, Tara Hess at our school. She created pretty much a list of words that have like the long A spelling. And then we take all of those and then they do sort it, but they get to go around and like on the classroom with just like poster paper. I have the long A spellings. They come draw from a little back so they can't see the word. They read the word, and then they go look for the sound spelling of their letter. So acorn would go with just like the long A by itself, and they would go write it with a marker on that poster. And again, it's a great way to get them moving around, and it's a really fun activity. They have a good time. Even my ones who are sometimes struggle to be engaged during class or to want to participate during this one.
Yeah, I love that one. Thank you. That was awesome. What else is on your mind? What I love is that Victoria is talking about a lot of higher level things where she's still focusing on sound-based decoding and getting these kids to be automatic and moving towards fluency, but also building their vocabulary, building their multi-syllable word level skills. So that is how the system is designed, and that's why I brought her on. It's so nice to see multiple levels. It's not just cat and the hat. Anything else that you want to share, Victoria?
I'll need to post a picture of it on our, like on the Facebook page. But pretty much for Switch It, something that we found that helps is that we have, when there was time before school, we made like Switch It boards.
Oh.
So it pretty much looked, like I said, I'll post a picture of it so that you can tell what it actually looks like. But kind of like this. So just like literally just like a little booklet. And then we used Velcro we put all of the consonants and then we put Velcro on the back of them. And then we tell them what sounds to move. So like if Switch It lists, it tells you exactly what sounds you're gonna need. So this one needs the E, I, F, K, L, M, N, P, S, T, and W. So when we have them, I tell them that we need to say the sound and then we move it down to the bottom of our board that also has Velcro so that we can like physically move it to its spot. and then there's another place on the other page that we use to build the words. So Velcro and a little booklet could help. We really talk a lot about treating our books with respect. And that if they're one of the friends who is deciding to not do that, they can spend their vitamin D gluing it back together.
Oh, clever. Nice natural consequence. I love it.
Yeah, so like I said, I can post a picture of that one. It's definitely, preparing it is time consuming, but it's one of those things where like once you have it, you really don't have to make it every year, and it's just really convenient.
That is awesome. You've shared some really exciting stuff, Victoria. Can you scooch just a little bit to your right? I think that might work. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A little bit more. My daughter does that too. She's starting law school. So it's all good. And I apologize if you're wondering, who's this voice coming from on high or down low? My screen is still just messed up. I think we should get ready to have a prize from everyone who's participated in the comments. Greg has picked a name, so that should be coming up soon. But in the meantime, to you guys in the audience, those of you who are faithful who have stayed with us even though we had a disrupted streaming event, do you have questions for these very talented teachers? They have a variety of years of experience, different grade levels, different caseloads, different states. So we'd love to hear from you if you have a question. We've had a lot of, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful, like I love it, great job from Linda. And we got some questions that got answered, like, can you find this in the Academy? Sure enough, you can. As we're waiting, if anyone wants to say something that they thought of, because each of you are like, oh yeah, you know, what Stormy was talking about is something that I do, or vice versa. So I'll just give people, go for it, Stormy.
So as I was listening to these experts here on my sides, I realized that even though my students did it last year, they were just becoming readers. So they might have done these sorted lists at, a different level reader. So I think while I have this amazing new curriculum we're following and has a lot of stuff in it, I can easily streamline and put in this switch it that I have prepared right here with these big words. So it's the ooh sound, but it's chewing altogether smoothly, jewelry, crude, spoon, Jewish, approval, foolish, who's, avenue, Andrew, fortune, canoe, statue, loop. Because most of my kids, when we did ooh or they weren't at this reading level. And so I think I can just put this in there and no one will be the wiser that I'm not doing the curriculum, because I am. I'm just doing it better.
Yeah, and with the readings, for those who are members of inside the Reading Simplified Academy, we have multiple reading levels. So that's what Stormy was talking about. You can do ooh with the word cool, or you can do it with the word Andrew. Go ahead, Beth.
I was going to say that's exactly what I do. So every year I have some students who graduate and they don't need me anymore, but I always have some that just continue to need that extra support. And so I will go through most of the pathway, like with my first graders. And then I find that the next year when I'm working with them as second graders, there's just some patterns that they retained, and then some patterns that they still need work on. And then they always, second, third, and up, always need the multisyllable, more work with multisyllables. So I love, really most of the time, interestingly enough, my third and fourth graders, and for sure fifth graders, but my third and fourth graders usually do pretty well with the fourth and fifth grade texts. Sometimes I need this second and third grade for some students in third grade, but for the most part, I use the second and third grade level texts for second graders, and then I use those fourth and fifth grade level texts for most, and they're struggling readers, but they can usually handle it, and they just have so much practice with the multi-syllable words.
Yeah,
And
and part
also,
of, go ahead, Beth, sorry.
gonna say too, like really what Victoria said about having to really teach them at the very beginning to say the sounds as they're writing it. That's something huge that we have to go over and over a lot at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so true. We've got a really great question here from Heidi. Are there any other activities students can do individually? I'm a lower elementary Montessori teacher. We are big on follow-up work that they do on their own. I'm just going to give a real quick picture of the big idea with the Reading Simplified system. There's a lot of different ways to do it, particularly if you're not a classroom teacher, but generally we recommend in general that people mostly do this 3-component lesson plan in a small group setting, come up with instructional match so they know what kids are, what they need. Then they're at a particular streamlined pathway level, and then they go into centers and they pick things that are at that level. Just like that cool discard game that Victoria showed, the kids that were at the A sound would play discard with A, and the kids for maybe their word games, and the kids that were at the short vowel review would play another game, maybe even discard if they have one, I can't remember, but that is like the big idea. But now I'm going to be quiet and let pass the baton over to these ladies. Who would like to tackle that first?
As far as what students do, I'm sorry, I read the next question too.
This is one I was, woo, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the, okay, it's centers maybe, or what are they doing individually?
Yeah. So whatever you did with them at an instructional level, and switch it, and then you move into the guided reading of a new text, they're able to bring that text with them and now practice it on their own, because they have to do that before they reread for fluency the next time you visit. And so, granted, mine were second grade, but even when they were in first grade, I would have, and way back in the day, before the amazing Microsoft Reading Progress, I would have them just take a picture of their passage and record themselves reading it to me in something like Seesaw, or it could be anything, right? And that was really, even if they could only read, the 2 lines we read together, because then that becomes a portfolio. And then the next time they can read 4 lines the next time. So every day they're building that fluency bank. And in about 2 weeks, they're going to listen to themselves and they're going to say, wow, I'm a reader. So anything that extends what you do with them into practice, or they can do some word work games like the Uno, or anything that it solidifies that instruction you just gave them. So I do, we do, you do. But it has to be the same thing. If they just go off and do something, well, you kind of lost the, as Anita Archer says, explicit instruction.
Excellent.
So that was my suggestion on
I love
small
it.
groups.
Very succinct. What? Anyone else? Go ahead, Victoria.
This little like direction thing is
Well, why is it backwards? One wonders.
okay. Yeah, I was thinking something that we do for them where like they're not working with a group or anything, is when they're doing like their multisyllabic with the marker. So like I'll tell them a word and they show me on their fingers how many syllables there are, and they're again writing it while they're saying it while they're writing it. And then at the end, like I actually will have a student who wrote the word correctly come write it on the board for everyone to like check themselves. If you really wanted to do it super independently, then you can still just like have them maybe like listen to you say it, and then just have the list for them to reference to check themselves. This read, sound, write check from phonics books.
Mm-hmm.
This way. Yeah. That one they can do. I've had them do completely on their own before. And again, like the word is already written right here, so they can check if they spelled it right after they unfold it. And then they're still reading it out loud, and they have to read it out loud in order to write all of the sounds and write all of the syllables And that's like a check yourself right there with the read, or with this part right here that has the word spelled correctly, so that they can do it completely independently.
Cool. All right. Anything? I think we got a couple of questions that were basically the same.
Marnie, can I add one thing on
Yeah, of course.
an independent extension? So let me find my fancy advanced phonics sorted, and I have the keyword sentences. So what they do this initially with you right before you do guided reading, and then they immediately have that list of words, but then they have a passage where they're looking for that target sound. And so then they highlight that and they bring that over to their sorted board. And then that sorted board, they can also reread for fluency. So they're making the connections inside that very explicitly chosen story that's going to contain those words, but not only those words. We really spiral fast. And so that sorted activity that they do initially with the small group is extended into sort it with a passage. So that's their independent work. And then they can bring it back the next day and show how many they found, compete with each other. And so that's another way to extend the sorted.
Beautiful. Some really great ideas. I just switched my camera. I couldn't turn it off without, as far as I could tell. So I'm back. Greg, why don't you get us our winner, and we'll wrap it up. And while we're looking for that, Jillian says, so during ELA block, when you're working with a small group, the other students should work at their level doing write it and read it activities. Just one of many. They could do several different things. We could show you some ideas for that. Here's some that we teach in the main course of the Reading Simplified Academy.
Yeah, there's the matching game that I had printed out. I use it as just a regular game, but I think it's a really great center where you have the pictures of the words and you have like whatever the sound spelling that you're working on, like the long O. It has the words, and then they can match those. It's a good game.
Yeah, and that would be an example of a word work game. We want, as Stormy mentioned, having them go over to reread either with a partner or on their own, or record themselves, or listen, or use that technology. Stormy, what is it, Microsoft?
Sorry, I was mute. Microsoft Reading Progress. They just added a comprehension piece.
We got
amazing.
We're going to bring Stormy on for that too, because she's the tech expert. So you could do any kind of apps. We have lists of apps that we recommend, like Ready, Set, Read by Pam Holland. Any computer activity that's going to be still targeted to sound. So these are some ways that are high impact, high leverage to get the kids actually at their level, so it's truly differentiated, and so they're more likely to be engaged, because centers can be challenging. When you're at their level and then you hold them accountable, they're going to come back tomorrow. They have to have that passage fluent or close to fluent, or much better than it was yesterday for rereading for fluency when they're face to face with you in a small group. So that is how that works. And it looks like we've got ourselves a winner. Thank you, Greg, and thanks for everybody who participated. Chris, we're so glad you are here. Thank you for commenting. So let's see, we got the Tiny Decisions app. Come on. So I'm going to spin. See, it is tricky, Victoria. Which way should I go? I'm going to spin, and Chris is going to see, and we'll see what Chris wins. Hey, a $5 gift card from Starbucks. If you don't like Starbucks or you don't have a Starbucks, we can get you something like Amazon or Teachers Pay Teachers. But Chris, be on the lookout for a Facebook message from Greg, who's here. He's going to reach out to you so he can get your email so we can decide on how to get you your prize. Yay! Okay, and Joanne asked one more time, what is the Microsoft Reading Program?
Yes. So Joanne, I'll post it in the Facebook group, but for the world that's not in their Facebook group yet, it's called Microsoft Reading Progress. World changer, and it's free for everybody.
Free.
I'll post it in the thing.
Crazy. Microsoft Reading Progress. Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
exactly what it makes. Reading progress.
So Chris is not made a comment. I hope he or she is here. But if you check for she or he will get access on via Messenger. All right, this has been amazing. I'm so thankful for those of you who stuck with us after tech failure, and we went long because these ideas are gold. I know that teachers don't get to hear enough from one another about what goes on behind the closed door. And I hope you got caught a vision for how you could streamline things, and how, if you're already using Reading Simplified, you could flexibly adapt some things. And if you're not using Reading Simplified, go check it out. It's really affordable, and it's not time intensive in the relative scheme of things. This is no 100 to 200 hour PD. And so we invite you to check out Reading Simplified. I'm so very thankful and honored that Victoria, Beth, and Stormy gave us their time. Let's give them some love, okay? Facebook love, please, because they prepared and they shared from the goodness of their great instruction in a busy time. So we are all very thankful to them, as Tarina has. She's giving you a round of applause up there. And Nicole, thank you. Asunta, thank you. So let's call it a wrap.
Can I just say this?
Oh yeah.
We all have the same materials in our hands. We didn't plan that. It's that good.
We're trying to simplify it. Even though it's simplified, it's still complete for learning to read words and become fluent. You don't need anything else, at least in terms of the system. You need that plan and a three-part lesson plan, a couple of games, and you're golden. So we're going to definitely have to have Story back to show us about Microsoft Reading Progress, but also I'm going to be talking more about how you can get started with what you should do in the beginning of the year so that your kids are actually catching up instead of just slowly getting into reading. That's one of the faults, I think, of our reading programs these days, is that it's just 6 weeks, 12 weeks to get to where kids can be in a week or two instead. So we'll be talking about that in coming weeks, so keep an eye out for us on Facebook Live. Victoria, what you're modeling for us with the pathway. What were you going to say?
Just going back to it, like, about how we all have the same things and that they work.
All right. It's been great. I'm so thankful. Here's to making great readers.